Okay, so we back again. I know it's been a little while, but the elder's trying to relocate. Um, Trying to get ready to retire. But so I've been trying to get some stuff happening, popping. Yeah, I've been so beautiful and wonderful. Oh my goodness, he always is. All you got to do is be obedient. Some people just can't understand that. But that's the whole key. That's the whole key. He's been doing some stupendous, miraculous stuff. Oh man, how can anybody not want this? Yeah, I say taste this, man. Taste it. See, it's sweet. It is. Just be obedient. It's real simple. But it's hard because this flesh don't want to act right. But anyway, that's what's been going on with me. Of course, I got another controversial video here. And I want you guys to see where Marcus Garvey and Elijah Poole, or alias known as, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan, where they got all this information that they be trying to put on you, about the African, you are African, going back to Africa and all this type of stuff. I tell you what, man, this thing is just, but we're gonna have some videos. You're gonna know where the term blue-eyed devil came from and all this type of things, because I do have to put something up here by Malcolm X, because I want you guys to also see all these leaders, because people had a big reaction. Oh, Marcus Garvey, you can't never go talk against him. Man, okay, then you follow that joker, man. But he's a devil. He's a devil worshiper. Masonry is nothing but devil, man. So keep following these leaders, but I'm gonna keep exposing them. I'm gonna keep showing you who they really are. You gotta follow Yahuwah. There is no other answer. And with all the craziness going on, and it just keeps escalating, sooner or later, like he said in his word, you're gonna seek me early. You're gonna be looking for me. And then all the nations are gonna know my name. My time is all done. So it's like the old commercial. You can pay me now, you can pay me later. So I'm not going to even do a prayer for this, because this is just some good information. And I think Yahoo is already, I know he's dealing with this brother here. It's a good brother. I should go up there and look at some of his videos, man. I like him. I like Dan Calloway. And it's another cat. I can't remember his name right now, but they're trying to show you what's really going on with this whole thing. And then you're going to learn after this video that, it just wasn't us that was put into slavery. Again, when you start looking at the curses of these tribes, man, Israel was scattered all over the place. I know I'm from the tribe of Judah because prophecy, but I can't look at Israel and tell who Israel is. But I do know one thing. At the bottom line of this whole thing is you better be spiritual, Israel. Otherwise, you're not going to get in the Father's house. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and put this on. And I know it's going to be some problems and some issues, but I don't really care, because I'm trying to wake those up that want to understand what's going on. Back in the day when I was in New York, that's where I'm from. I should deal with the 5% nation and all that. And, then you got the folks running around Nation of Islam and all. Hey, but then at the same time, this man, well, I'm gonna let you just watch the video and see for yourself. But I keep trying to tell y'all, only hope we got is Yahuwah and Yahusha. That's it. There's nothing else. These men don't care nothing about you. They're not your physical, spiritual leaders, not at all. They're getting paid by the masses, by the elite, to keep you under a sleep state with all this hocus pocus and all this other stuff. While they live lavish and you sitting up here starving and don't know what you're gonna do from day to day. And it gets to the point where you just start robbing folks because you can't even make it, right? Because you can't conform to this system. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't never had nobody to teach you how to do nothing. So, but you want everything. Like the curses said, you're gonna be a one of all things. So what do? Whatever it takes. Women, or men. Trying to tell you though, the only way to do this thing is Yahuwah. So we're gonna go ahead and get this popping off and make sure I got everything like it's supposed to be. And I'm hoping y'all enjoy this video. And for those that's gonna be a little upset, guess what? Who cares? All right, enjoy.
All the way ahead in this book, almost at the end, in this chapter, says the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. All right, so it's not just Sheikh Wei El that was saying this. I don't even know what you guys were arguing about Sheikh Wei El, because he was just, I mean, he didn't say nothing about himself. Nothing was his opinion. He was just breaking down different scholars' work. So either way, it says here, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate and to know of his higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca, for teaching and instructing of all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish who were the ancient Moabites, the Moorish who were the ancient Moabite, and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, the Moabites. All right. Number 3. This is what he's telling you. All right. Point 1, point 2. Now point 3. The Egyptians, who were the Hamites, and of a direct descent of Mizraim, and the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. All right. You see that? The Egyptians, Hamites. These are all Canaanites, even the Japanese, the aboriginal Japanese and Chinese, all those Negro, Asiatics, these were Hamites. These same people migrated over to Africa eventually. Copper Hot Stepping, them, the Kono Empire have been breaking this down. They made a great video once, a build live, and broke that down, how many of these tribes originated in Asia and in Africa today. These very dark-skinned tribes that you would never imagine came from Asia or the Middle East, but they did, and they settled in Africa, and they can trace it back to them. They're chiefs. All right. Now it says the Hindus of India. Remember, don't leave out the Hindus of India. The Hindustan, you mean Hindustan, not India. The descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites from the land of Canaan. The Hindus are Moabites. So even the Hindus are Moabites. You're related to the Hindus too, the Moors, the Asiatic nations and countries in North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans in North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America. So they're saying that all the people over here too are Moors. They're Asian though. You're saying they're Asiatic. So how are they Asiatic, but they're here? See, they're still going with the out of Asia or whatever, out of Africa, out of Asia theory. How could you be from two places? You understand what he's saying? It says Colombians, Nicaraguans. That's like my neighbors. And the natives of San Salvador in Central America these are Muslims. We're all Muslims? So everybody in Central America is Muslims? Like, seriously? My 13th great grandfather is Chief Garavito. He wasn't no Muslim. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar. Listen to this. The Turks are the descendants of Hagar, one of Abraham's concubines. All right, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad the first, the founder of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God. All right, so he broke down, if you're calling yourself a Moor, this is who you are. All right, and you gotta dodge the hijacking a lot of this. Further down, it says Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. It says the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. All right, if you're in Africa, right, they're telling you straight up that those people are from the land of Canaan, meaning America. You originated in America. That's the true old world. So letting you know, Drew Ali knows the drop on that. We don't disagree on that. Now it says, but you're from the old man Cush. Cush is from Canaan, which is from Ham, a Hamite. All right. that portion of humanity. So Old Man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan or America. His father Ham and his family was second. His father came later. Then came the word Ethiopia. Oh, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa. You see this? The dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. You see what they're letting you know? That one portion was for Ham and the other was for Cush or Canaan. What about Shem and Japheth's people? They don't get a lot. Only Ham and Canaan get a lot. Now let me show you. So it says the dominions of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, right? And northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. So they're saying that Ham had northwest or southwest, which was America. Remember they showed us the map in the other article we saw earlier with a Mexum, right? So they're saying that that part of the world was Ham and Africa and all that was Cush. So what about Shem and Japheth? Where's their lot? All right. In the later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. All right, so it says the Moabites from the land of Moab, Moabite from the land of Moab, Moab, Utah. Is that where you settled? You asked permission from Pharaoh, settled in Moab, Utah, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. They are the true founders of the present Moroccan Empire with their Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. They had to take, why were they seeking new homes again? Because Joshua had drove them out, right? From the land of Canaan or the promised land. This was Shem's land. It wasn't the land of Canaan. He settled there when he wasn't supposed to. That wasn't his lot. That's why they had to seek new homes, because it got to the rightful owners by lot, by contract. All right. So the Moabites, they got together with their Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite brethren, all right, from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. All right, their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis. Yeah, what did you guys do in Atlantis? Isn't Thoth from Atlantis? Thoth the Atlantean, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico. Even there, yeah, you guys were here in the land of Canaan, Mexico and Atlantis islands before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. Now listen to what he says here. It says the river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt. All right. So the river over there in Africa, like the one over there called the Nile, was dredged, mean it was made bigger. They kind of dug it out. So they made that as artificial. Are you saying that's artificial? Because the Mississippi is not artificial. The Mississippi is definitely not artificial. All right, so it was made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt. Also, that one's artificial. Those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile, westward across the great Atlantis. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa, not America, Africa, were and are of the human race, Pan-African, right? Descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. You're not from Africa because you came from America. What your ancient forefathers were, you are without a doubt of contradiction. All right, so that is Noble Drew Zali's, I guess, history of the races, I guess, and it's just all I see is one perspective, honestly, and there's always two sides to every story, right? So that was mostly what I wanted to show you from this book. All right, the end times, the fulfillment of the prophecies. All right, John the Baptist, the forerunner of Jesus. All right, the Marcus Garvey, I guess, was saying that Noble Drew was going to come as a prophet. That's what they're saying. Marcus Garvey out of Africa. Let's go back to Africa. Marcus Garvey. Yeah, there's something going on here. They're both Masons. Yeah, there's something definitely going on here. All right. I think you think it's cool to just be a Freemason and be in secret societies and all that, and it's okay, all right, but it's all right. You just don't force all this on everybody and don't generalize, because we are independent researchers. So When you come over here and tell us something, we're gonna research it. All right. It says the fond sons of daughters of Asian nation of North America need Asiatic nation, Asiatic. So they're Asiatic. Need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know his higher self and lower self. Stop loving, man. Stop hating, man. You need to start loving. Stop hating. More bite. Asiatic. If you're from Morocco and you're all that side in Africa and all that Canada, then I guess you are Asiatic. This is the United of the Holy Quran Mecca, it says, for the teaching strength of all Moorish Americans. All right. So this is the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Science Temple. Know yourself and your God Allah. All right. That you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree. That's true. The uniting of Asia. The uniting of Asia. Asia. Quran, Asia, Jesus. Man. All right. So I just wanted to show you this book so you can, in case you never come across it, I have a lot of versions of this book. So, you can see from Drew Ali's own words what he was teaching and what the people actually in these early Moorish science temples were. I remember they had the Holy Quran, this one, and they had the Bible to study. All right. So he had clothing. He wore clothes like a Freemason, right? So they said about Noble Drew Ali. Well, we know he actually went to Egypt and became initiated, right, into secret society. So I mean, it's no lie, right? I mean, they acknowledge it and say it's their ancient science first. So Freemasonry, which is true, that started with so-called black people, we know that. So this book is called The Craft and the Crescent. It says Freemasonry and the Black Muslim Movement in America by Michael S. Schneider. All right, so it says Marcus Garvey in the United Negro Improvement Association, Noble Drew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple, Wallace D.F. and for part in the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Minister, Louis Farrakhan, the Nuwabian Nation of Moors, Nation Gods of Earth, the 5 percenters. All right. Introduction of this book, it says, this paper sets out to show the influence of Freemasonry in the Nation of Islam, NOI, and the group leading up to the NOI's formation and those who rose out of it. These groups are created of necessity because of the unfavorable social atmosphere toward African Americans in the United States at the beginning of the 20th century. The groups that lead up to the Nation of Islam were the United Negro Improvement Association, led by Marcus Garvey and the Moorish Science Temple. Yes, you hear that? Again, the groups that led up to the Nation of Islam were the United Negro Improvement Association. And that was led by Marcus Garvey and the Moorish Science Temple, founded by Noble Drew Ali in allegiance. I will touch on each of these groups and show their relation to the Nation of Islam and the influence that these two groups had on W.D. Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad, the two men who are responsible for the creation of development of the NOI theology. All right, so I just wanted to show you this, all right? A lot of people say, no, it never happened. These two people never met or whatever, but. So we're at the New York Times here, right? And there's an article here from, I believe, 1920 or actually 1993. They were talking about something that had happened in 1920. So this is an article from May 22nd, 1993, section 1, page 18. You can buy the original. It's right there, this little section right here. All right, I'm gonna read it to you. It's down here. Now it says, Black Muslims enter Islamic mainstream. Front page, May 3. Misses a key historical fact on the introduction of Islam in America. Now it says the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam, an Orthodox universal community, was the first successful organized effort to introduce Islam in the United States and was most successful among African Americans, or the aboriginals, so-called African Americans. You're not an African about you. Check your genealogy. We already broke it down. You've been here. So it was successful among you. It was a whole movement to put this like doctrine into you. There was a whole movement from all the way on the other side of the world. All right. Missionaries were sent to America. Missionaries were sent to America by the Ahmadiyya movement to propagate Islam. The first being Mufti Muhammad Sadiq, who landed in America on February 15th, 1920. Muhammad Sadiq became close to the Universal Negro Improvement Association founded by Marcus Garvey, all right, and preached Islam to the Garveyites, whose members then included Elijah Muhammad and who? Noble Drew Ali. Elijah Muhammad and who? Noble Drew Ali. They were part of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, all right? So we go back to this book. It says that the group, right, the groups that led up to the Nation of Islam were the United Negro Improvement Association, led by Marcus Garvey, and the Moorish Science Temple, founded by Noble Drew Ali. All right, it's telling you straight up. All right, so we're in this website now, the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, the Moorish American National Republic. All right. So is this from Shigwe L2? No, right? So it says the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey connection. All right, they knew each other. What do you mean they didn't know each other? In the early 1900s, there were many mighty men and master teachers around. Two of those great men were the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. By taking a look at the time period, it is clear to see that both these men clearly knew each other, and most likely they knew each other before they started their individual movements. All right. Prophet Noble Drew Ali started his Moorish movement in 1913. Marcus Garvey Jr. started his movement in 1914. It is clear that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali held Marcus Garvey in high regards because he allowed his name to be stated in the Moorish Holy Quran. It reads in chapter 48:1-3, the last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed, which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to his earth by Allah. All right, so this is in the Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 48. That's Noble Drew Ali giving himself credit, like, hey, he wrote about me coming. All right. Now it says, today, amongst Moorish Americans, Marcus Garvey is known as the forerunner of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. All right. So it talks about Marcus Garvey, how he was born in Jamaica. And it says here, it is said that Deuce Muhammad Ali influence shaped Garvey's speeches and led him to organize the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, in Jamaica in 1914. It has been suggested that the UNIA motto, One God, One Aim, One Destiny, originated from Deuce Muhammad Ali's Islamic influence on Garvey. So this is the dude he influenced, that influenced Garvey, says. It says, Marcus Garvey appears to have learned many sciences, history, and spiritual science from Deuce Muhammad Ali, which would go well with the Independent United Order of Mechanic lessons he knew. The Independent United Order of Mechanics started in 1757 in England and spread to the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, the Netherlands, and Canada. The mechanics are associated with Freemasonry. All right, it's not a mechanic, like it's Freemasonry because of the similarities with the degrees. All right, Freemasons, these are all Freemasons. See what I'm showing you? Are you starting to understand? Marcus Garvey then went on to establish many successful businesses because of his Freemasonry connections. Between 1919 and 1927, Marcus Garvey was charged and jailed in between that time pertaining to alleged mail fraud. In 1927, Prophet Noble Drew Ali went to visit Marcus Garvey in federal prison. A picture of the postcard Prophet Noble Drew Ali sent to his wife at the time speaks about that visit below. All right, so this is the postcard. There's also a newspaper which speaks about Prophet Noble Drew Ali returning to Chicago, the visit with Marcus Garvey. So this is from a newspaper article, the Chicago Defender, it says here. The Chicago Defender, all right, November 19, 1927, I think it says there. 1921 to 1967, number 19, 1927, yeah. So it says, Noble Drew Ali returns after long visit. All right, let me see if I can. It says, Noble Drew Ali, prophet, founder, and head of the Moorish National Divine Movement, has returned to the city after an extended visit in the South. Prophet Ali motored from Chicago to Atlanta, Georgia, where he spent a few hours visiting Marcus Garvey. He visited Marcus Garvey. He knew Marcus Garvey. They talked together in the federal prison. Mr. Garvey was very much pleased with the splendid uplift work being done by the Moorish Divine Movement. He was happy with the Moorish Divine Movement of Noble Drew Ali. The organization has launched a drive for more members, persons, the series of learning of great work that is being done are asked to write profitably. And they give it 3603 Indiana Ave, Chicago. All right, so now we're in this article from the University of California, Riverside. It says Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple, a study in race, gender, and African American religion, 1913 to 1930. This is a dissertation submitted in partial satisfaction of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and History by Stephanie Ann Wilms, August 2014. Doctor of Philosophy, Graduate Program in History, University of California, Riverside, August 2014. Dr. VP Franklin Chairperson. All right, and I want to go to a specific part that's talking about Drew Ali, even though this person gets into a lot of deep stuff. Like it says, it takes into account of the influences Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association had on Moorish science, the impact of Freemasonry and photography, and the success and spread of Moorish science photography, like advertisement, and the role of women within the early temple. All right, it talks a lot about the Masonic and Freemasonry, but let me get you to this part. All right, so this part right here. Now, if you research the history of Noble Drew Ali, right, or Timothy Drew, right, you see that there's no census records, there's no, like, they don't know. And the story is basically a story that he's the son of, he has like 3 different parents, according to the 3 different views on it, right? And so one of them is that, you know, he's from the son of an adopted son of Cherokee slaves. So an adopted son of Cherokee slaves. So the son of a slave, or an adopted son of a slave that ran away from his aunt after his mom died. All right. You know, we read the story before. We're going to go back into it again. And then he went and ran away and went in with the gypsies. They called the gypsies, but these were what they were calling the tribe of Ishmael. These so-called gypsies were the tribe of Ishmael, were these like indentured European servants. They had, you know, these Arab last name, Ishmael. So what was going on here? We're going to dig into that. In other parts of this, we're going to dig into all this. All right, tribe of Ishmael and his connection with Drew Ali. But I wanted to show this. This was, I ran into this in another article on the internet, but I'm glad I found it here. It's in one place. All right, because yeah, his birth and all that's a mystery. So there's another thing here, theory. Well, not a theory. There's actually more factual information about a real person named actually Thomas Drew. All right. So now I want to show you this card here. It says Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept student. The Egyptian adept student. Remember that you know, he went to Egypt. So-called story. He went to Egypt. He found an ancient Egyptian mystic cult. An ancient priest there gave him an initiation, blindfolded him, and then accepted him into his secret society. And then he came back and started doing everything he did, right? All right, so remember, so they're calling this guy Professor Drew the Egyptian adept, all right? According to the oral testimonies of members of Moorish science, Noble Drew Ali first began his teachings as Professor Drew, Egyptian adept student, and continued them through his organizing activities in the Canaanite temple. Although there is no date or citation available for the advertisement of Professor Drew, a World War I draft registration card from 12 September 1918 and the 1920 United States Census placed a Thomas Drew, all right, Thomas Drew, at the same address, all right, at the same address, all right. While the first name Thomas conflicts with previous accounts of Drew Ali as Timothy Drew, the information from the draft cards and census records suggest otherwise. You got to go with the census. What does it say in your genealogy, your census? The draft card from September 1918 reports that Thomas Drew was born 8 January 1886. This is the same year that Drew Ali was supposedly born. All right, this is a real person they got here. Has the same birth date. the same date followers and historians cite as his birthday, and also cites him as a Negro man of medium height and build with black hair. Ultimately, Drew was disqualified for service in the war because the muscles on his forearm were badly burned, just like the story of Drew Ali, how his aunt tried to burn him and Allah saved him. Remember, so he ran away, his wicked aunt. So this person, Thomas Drew, is badly burned. He wasn't qualified for service in the war. So it says this physical feature of Drew Ali also parallels the uh, Moorish Science Temple followers' stories of Drew's childhood. Their stories of his childhood, his childhood, right, where he was cast into a fire by his aunt. The draft registration card also places Drew as a laborer for the submarine boat corporation in the port of New Jersey. As a laborer in the port, Drew would have come into contact with workers from different countries. So he was all around the world. Is that when he went into Egypt? Because he was in service? As the corporation at its peak employed 25,000 people. The census record from January 1920 confirms Thomas Drew's residence at 181 Warren Street, New Jersey. All right, Thomas Drew, 1920 census. The census lists Drew as a preacher on public streets. All right, who is this? Indicating that between September 1918 and January 1920, Drew had begun formulating some version of his religious movement. It is unclear what specific religious affiliation Drew had at this time, since the only early record that has survived is the advertisement of Professor Drew, Egyptian Adab student. Despite oral testimony that connects Drew to the Canaanite temple, there is no further evidence that tangibly connects his early religious efforts to the Canaanite temple. There is evidence on the advertisement for Professor Drew that he was already combining Islam with Christianity, as he states on the card, "I am Muslim," and also indicates that he was the divine ability to interpret the Bible while also offering information about the lost years of the life of Jesus. Jesus, we already got that, right? Research Abdul Hamid Suleiman, an Egyptian Muslim, reveals his organizing activities associated with the Canaanite temple and its connections to African American Freemasonry. Freemasonry, again, here we go. This information about Suleiman's activities and the Canaanite temple suggests that Noble Drew Ali and his creation of Moorish science may have been influenced by the work of Suleiman. Religious scholar Patrick B. Bowen identified in an article, Negro Freemasons Incorporated, in the New Brunswick Times on 4 February 1910, which reported the incorporation of Mecca Medina Temple of ancient free and operative Masons. In August 1922, Suleiman attended the African American Masonic Convention, where he presented himself to Caesar R. Blake Jr., the leader of the ancient Egyptian Arabic order, nobles of the mystic shrine. You hear this? All right. This was connecting to the Egypt here, also referred to as the Black Shriners. All right. And insisted that Shriners come under protection of Mecca Medina Temple, what he referred to as the true shrine. These insights about Suleiman and his connection to the earlier forms of Masonic Islamic organizations further complicate the history of Noble Drew Ali and the creation of the Canaanite Temple in 1913. Both Mecca, Medina, and the Canaanite Temple may have been, as Bowen suggests, one of the many African American Masonic factions that had been springing up since 1894, inspired by rhetoric of the Black Shriner movement. Drew Ali may have been involved in the formation of the Canaanite Temple, but it seems that he previously documented timeline of 1913 is highly unlikely. Moreover, it was not until 1920 that Drew Ali formally associated himself as a preacher, as documented in the 1920 census. Although it is not impossible that Drew had been involved in shaping the Canaanite Temple, his presence has not been documented in any sources related to the organization. All right, so check this out. So here's a newspaper article. Let me just try to zoom in. All right, it says converts sought by Mohammedans make special drive among Negroes of U.S. Dr. Abdul Harstan Suleiman, a native of Arabia, of 143 West 130th Street, Manhattan, the high priest of Mecca for a number of years, has inaugurated a movement for spreading Mohammedanism among the Negroes of the United States. A number of Muslim groups have been started, particularly one in Newark, New Jersey, under the name of the Canaanite Temple. Under their leadership, the temple, it is reported, has attracted a large membership group of Negro uh, Muslims have combined with the Turkish and Syrian groups throughout the United States. All right, Dr. Suleiman has gathered together these groups with the Turkish and Syrian groups in this country, and they have decided to um, create a mosque in the northern part of Manhattan Island under the leadership of Dr. Suleiman. There will be a movement conducted among the Negro people throughout the United States to convert them to Mohammedanism. All right, so it says article discussing the early Canaanite temple. All right, so I think she's showing you for a reason. So look what she's gonna say. So it says in the article of the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. This is from the Brooklyn Daily Eagle from the July 15th, 1923. All right, that article we just read. It says the Canaanites Temple of Newark, New Jersey was attributed to Dr. Suleiman. It says Drew Ali's involvement with the temple has been reported only in oral histories. While the spelling in this report does not match other historical documents on the Canaanite Temple, the Associated Press often printed typos in spelling and punctuation errors. The article does not mention Drew Ali, only Dr. Suleiman. Bowen cited the activities of the Mecca Medina Temple as early as 1910 and posited Suleiman's possible involvement with that group. The Brooklyn Daily Eagle article states that this Suleiman was the leader of the Canaanite Temple with other Muslim groups, and he was the high priest of Mecca for a number of years. It is also announced that he has inaugurated a new movement. So you see that article didn't even mention Noble Drew Ali is what she's pointing out of the Canaanite Temple. All right, so we're back in the book, The Craft and the Crescent, Freemasonry and the Black Muslim Movement in America by Michael S. Schneider. All right, so we just went through that article. They're talking about Freemasonry was a big part of that, right? They were linking a lot of people together. We were over here a little bit earlier talking about the United Negro Improvement Association and Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew, founded by Noble Drew and Marcus Garvey, right? You remember that? So we went and found out that they actually were in the members, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali of this organization. That says many books have been written about each of the groups listed above. So I will not go into great deal of their general history. I have listed a selected reading page for further study. The Order of Freemasonry is the grandfather of all fraternal organizations and has some impact on each generation. Freemasonry has been segregated for most of its history in the United States, yet its impact on both black and white societies cannot be disputed. Many leaders of both races have been members of this organization, and the teachings of Freemasonry show in their actions. Freemasonry had filled in a need in two cultures of both black and white. African Americans have transformed Freemasonry into a social and religious sect that continues to be driving force in society today. All right, it says Marcus Garvey in the United Negro Improvement Association. All right, it tells the story. All right, so further down on this regarding Marcus Garvey, it says Marcus Garvey was a member of the Prince Hall Freemasonry. All right, Marcus Garvey was a member of Prince Hall Freemasonry. Let's go back to Africa, right? What he was saying all the time, right? Mary Lefkowitz states, to a large extent, that UNIA was organized along Masonic lines. It had a significant benevolent function. It had a constitution based on the Masons. It also had a potentate, and potentate's helmet closely resembled the ceremonial hat worn by Masons in special parades. Note the picture above the Marcus Garvey in a similar uniform to that of a Knights Templar of the Masonic Order. All right, so let's go back. You see, we're talking about his dress, the way he dressed, and all that. Many African American Freemasons at the time believed that Freemasonry actually started in the advanced civilization of ancient Egypt. This helped African Americans identify with Freemasonry, as it was thought to be based on ceremonies in ancient Africa. One of the UNIA main doctrine was that black man should leave America and return to the homeland of Africa. You see, that's what Marcus Garvey was telling you. Go back to Africa. All right, Noble Drew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple of America. A man named Timothy Drew. All right, so we just got, his name was really Thomas Drew. All right, Thomas Drew. Founded the Moorish Science Temple. in 1913. He was born in North Carolina on January 8th, 1886, right? Same date as the Thomas Drew, who actually has some census records. He converted to Islam after a visit to Saudi Arabia. Marcus Garvey and his group heavily influenced Drew, and after Garvey was deported in 1927, many of his followers joined Drew's organization. Many of Garveyites. All right. Remember, they told us we're leaders in the Moorish Science Temple. Many of the Garveyites were leaders in the Moorish Science Temple. We got this reference in another source in the last videos. All right. He took the name Noble Drew Ali and proclaimed himself a prophet of Allah, God. He was a member of the ancient Egyptian nobles of the mystic shrine, commonly called the Black Shriners. Noble Drew Ali, ancient Mason. The men in this Moorish Science Temple wore fezzes as part of their dress. They were also required to wear colored shorts with elastic just below the knee and uniforms or robes of purple or red, which resembled those worn by the Shriners. They were considered to be Asiatic or Moors instead. Asiatic or Moors instead of African American, instead of Aboriginal, instead of the Aboriginal of America. He thought that the Moors were superior to the white race. Noble Drew Ali stated that Jesus, according to the temple teaching, as a black man tried to redeem the black Moabite, only to be executed by the white Romans. In their meeting, they would practice rites that were not to be spoken of outside of the order. You can't do this, keep it a secret. They had their own marriage ceremonies that consisted of 30 members and were conducted by the divine minister. If they were to quit the order, they would be required to commit suicide according to the oath taken upon joining. Outside of their meetings would be placed a guard who would push a button that would turn on a light at the podium. This let the speaker know if some unwanted guests were coming. If so, they would change their tone of speaking. They had different colored lights for different occasions, depending on whether or not they thought the visitor to be a government informer. Some of the titles of their officers are as follows: Grand Sheik, National Counselor; Lieutenant Governor, Sheik, Minister, Assistant Grand Sheik, Divine Minister, Supreme Grand Advisor, Supreme Grand Governor. They would carry membership cards with them at all times, which consisted of the following: this is your nationality, an identification card for the Moorish Science Temple of America, and birthright for the Moorish Americans, etc. We honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Buddha. May the blessings of God of our Father Allah be upon you that carry this card. I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Love, truth, and peace and freedom. I am a citizen of the USA. You're a citizen of the corporation, USA, capital letters. Noble Drew Ali, the Prophet, one of his with Chicago. So you see, that's the card. We read it in the other book too. They were required to learn an examination of question and answers to be part of the organization. This was taken from the examination portion of Freemasonry. Noble Drew Ali also wrote the Quran as revealed to him by Allah, containing the Moorish view of creation to the end of time and the fulfilling of prophecies. Ali's Quran focused on the history of the black man and his evolution to its current state. This Quran in no way resembles the Holy Quran used by practicing Muslims. After death, Ali, John Gibbons L., claimed to be the new prophet and continued the organization. It is still in existence today, mainly in major cities. There have been several offshoots, mainly because of power struggles within the organization. All right. So, found this article. I guess it was inscribed. All right. So, but I don't think it was always inscribed. A lot of info in here, esoteric, and a lot of knowledgeable info actually too. I'm not gonna front, but you're just gonna see a perspective they got. That's from this what I want to show you. So this is called CM Bay certificate number. There's the number and more civic relation concepts, bro. Taj Tariq Bey. All right, you see the more. There's Asia. All right, you see all the compass and all of the Masonic symbols, the handshake, the brotherhood. All right, degrees of knowledge, 360, right? All right, Moors, Order of the Round Table, Civic Science Heritage Class. All right, zoom in a little bit. And it says, Moors, the descendants of the ancient Moabites. Moabites, you are the ancient Moabites. All right, so it's not just Sheik El Way saying this. Noble Drew Ali's been saying it, and everybody else who was taught under him. All right, you are the descendants of the ancient Moabites. Really, is that? So you're a Moabite, Canaanite. So when you say we're all Moors, you're saying we're all Moabites. You know what I mean? So that's like generalizing, right? You know. So it says the true indigenous people who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern continents, lands of ancient Amexem. You know, this is their, this is their whole story of, this is what they call America. They call it Northwest and Southwest Africa. Amexem, Al-Morok, now called the Americas, North, Central, South, and the adjoining islands. Through the reconstruction of historical writings, the Dark Period, these peoples and their lands have been renamed or branded to confuse the people concerning the true geographical location of their native lands, which are under European siege colonization. Moors are bound to the continents of the Americas by heritage and birthright. All right, so when they're saying Moors, when they're talking about ancient Moabites, or or are they talking about dark-skinned people? Because they kind of always mix those two all the time back and forth. And so, yes, there were so-called Negroes over here in America, and this is their birthright. Yes. All right. So if that's what you mean, then we can agree on that. So it says a maxim here, and it shows, you've probably seen this in the internet. It says Northwest and Southwest of Maxim, along with the adjoining islands, land of the Moors, the descendants of the ancient Moabites. You're a Moabite. You're from Moab. You're a Moabite, Canaanite Moabite. That's where you are. In these contemporary times, a maxim is called America. All right. So it shows here, right? Northwest Africa, Southwest Africa. I mean, the word Africa didn't even exist. It's not even supposed to exist back then. So they have all the lots. So you got all the lots now. So you had Ham's lot over there, then you got Shem's lot, Japheth's lot. You got all the lots, I guess, right? These are some of the names Amexem has been called. It says Amexum, Mu, Marasi, Morok, Al-Morok, Northwest and Southwest Africa, North and South America. America is the prefix of Amexem and the suffix of Africa. But Africa didn't even exist back then. What do you mean? America, Al-Morok, American, Al-Moroccan, Al-Moroccan, Moorish, American. It says Moors, the descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Again, Moors, the descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Al-Moroccans. It says Brother Taj Tariq Bey, Moor, Order of the Round Table of Northwest of Maxim. All right, so we're in this book right here called Conquistadors of the Red City, the Moroccan Conquest of the Songhay Empire by Comer Plummer III. And shout out to Treda Wakandan for the drop. He passed me this info on Instagram. Make sure you follow this brother. He got a lot of drop, a lot of knowledge, a lot of receipts, a lot of proof, a lot of research. So go follow the brother. He has a good Instagram page. He also has a YouTube, Treda Wakandan. Yeah. All right, so this is the book we're going to get into right now. So we're in page 55, just get a little reference. So they're talking about Al-Mansur. I guess he was the ruler of Morocco during a time when, they were doing business and commerce with England, Queen Elizabeth, all right? So let me just start right here. It says, meanwhile, Al-Mansur also developed his diplomatic and commercial ties with England. This country offered a lifeline out from in between the Spanish Ottoman hammer and anvil predicament. So see this, the Spaniards were allied with the Ottomans, and they had a lot of power and going all around the world and doing conquests, like in the Americas especially, right? Because this is in the 1500s we're talking about. So the Spanish already got the whole Americas, and the Portuguese, right? The Ottoman, it seems to have an alliance with them, right? So the Morocco is trying to get an alliance with England, right? So it says this burgeoning relationship was also timely, since the ransom money had dried up and the sugar receipts from London were indispensable to paying his army. As never before, the sugar was flowing out of Safi and Agadir, and the manufactured goods of London and beyond were pouring into Marrakesh. In 1582, the greater danger was past. Spain was disengaging from North Africa, and the Turks appeared to have finally accepted Moroccan independence. While the Algerians remained a worrisome neighbor, the threat of foreign invasion appeared to be, at least for a time, over. Freed from such immediate concerns, Al-Mansur began to act upon his desires. Most of his musings were directed at the only foreign ruler he seemed to trust to any degree, Queen Elizabeth I of England. With her, he formed a Barbary trading company. So Al-Mansur, Morocco, right, formed a Barbary trading company with Queen Elizabeth, all right? The Barbary trading company with Queen Elizabeth, all right? Remember, this is before they went and settled, did their colonies in the Americas. There's an alliance here before that, right? In exchange for sugar and saltpeter, she agreed to provide timber for a Moroccan fleet. On another occasion, Al-Mansur negotiated for her to build him 10 galleys. The two corresponded of an alliance against Spain. Against Spain, that means everything they own. So if Spain is in the Americas, right, if they got the whole Central America and the Caribbean and parts of South America already invaded and conquered, they mean they're going to go after them there. They plotted to support the candidacy of Don Antonio Prior of Crato to the Portuguese throne, which Philip II of Spain had assumed in 1580. The Moroccan Sultan pledged to provide foodstuffs to an English force in an attack on Lisbon. Al-Mansur even went so far as to propose that Morocco and England divide Spain's New World colonies between them. All right? You see what's going on? I'm trying to tell you. So Morocco had an alliance with England, and they said, let's get together, right? And let's go take over and divide Spain's New World colonies between them, all right? With Morocco taking off the more tropical varieties such as the West Indies. They were like, give us the West Indies, we like that. Given Moroccan expertise in sugar cultivation. Who went to make plantations in the West Indies? Morocco, right? They sent pirates, these privateers they call them. They were sending pirates to invade the Spanish ships. We went over this in my past videos, right? Who are these pirates? Remember? They draw them as pirates today because that meant Negro loro or dark-skinned loro, a loro, a lora. That means parrot today. That's why they show you parrots, because the pirates, these captains, a lot of them were Moors. They were the ones who knew how to sail the world, all right? They were pretty good at it. So they said, hey, fuck it, let's get together. I got sugar, because Al-Mansur was growing sugar in Morocco, right? They have a lot of sugar exported all over the world. They're like, fuck it, give me the West Indies. I'll help you go against Spain, right? So I can go cultivate over there, all right? Given Moroccan expertise in sugar cultivation, he reasoned this would be appropriate. It was all very grand for a kingdom of landlubbers whose army was reliant on foreign soldiers and mercenaries. Ahmad al-Mansur's correspondence with Elizabeth went on until her death, a few months before his own. While the Queen's letters reflected diminishing expectations of al-Mansur's missives were unremittingly grandiose. Taken as a whole, they are a catalog of wishful thinking. All right? They say wishful thinking, but we know what's up because we're about to show you something, all right? So I just want to go to another page in this book. So again, they had sugar, right? So it says Moroccan historian and statesman of Sajani, all right, reported that among the first things Sultan al-Mansur did after his great victory in the Sudan was to build sugar refineries like pyramids. According to al-Fishtali, al-Mansur built many sugar refineries in Haha Shishawa in the south of Morocco, with gold from the Sudanese campaign and cheap labor. Black slaves obtained from the Sudan, it says, the Sultan must have been inspired to restart the sugar industry on a large scale, a lucrative product with a ready market in Europe. Al-Ifrani died in the years has reported that Italian marble was exchanged for Moroccan sugar, weight for weight. Paul Berthier, drawing from primary sources that discuss the use of slave labor in sugar production, you see, they were good at this, identified a set of toponyms associated with the regions in which sugar was produced. Dior al-Abid, the house of slaves, and Radat al-Bid, cemetery of first slaves. All right, you know these names. the village of slaves. Look at this. And Al Asur, the aqueduct of slaves in Shishawa. In Sus, a largely Berber-speaking area, Berber, the toponym in close proximity to the sugar refinery of Tasimur, was called Agrum Isam, or something about slave, right? Meaning the gathering place for slaves. So wherever they had their sugar plantations, right? In all these places, Al Mansur, right? The Moroccan dude, right? In Morocco, that's where they said that's where the slaves was gathered, because they were working the slaves there, like plantations, like eventually happened in the West Indies, right? Like eventually happened in the West Indies, same system before. Right, they had this already established in Morocco. Spanish chronicler Luis del Marno Carvajal noted that in the 1550s, the European captives were used in the Sus to produce sugar. European slaves appeared to be less numerous than enslaved black Africans. The sugar produced in these areas was of high quality and exported to European countries such as Italy and France, but especially to England, because during this period, Morocco had an alliance with England. Al-Mansur's foreign affairs with England under Queen Elizabeth were intriguing. After the initial commercial alliance, Queen Elizabeth was interested in a military collaboration with Al-Mansur, a military collaboration with the Moors, England with the Moors. In a letter to Queen Elizabeth in 1601, Al-Mansur proposed that Morocco and England together conquer the West Indies, expel the Spaniards, and occupy the land under a joint authority. All right? All right? And this is exactly what was going on. And we know this is history. All right? We know the English had war with the Spanish. We know the English were sending pirates invading Spanish colonies. We know this. We've gone over this a lot, right? We know that the first so-called Negroes that arrived in America in 1619 were actually taken from a Spanish ship. These were Indians taken from a Spanish ship. They were pirated by English so-called privateers. They were raiding the Spaniards. This is exactly what they were talking about. So again, it says, all right, Al-Mansur proposed that Morocco and England together conquer the West Indies, all right, expel the Spaniards, and occupy the land under a joint authority. The Queen was well disposed to attack the Spaniards in their colonies. Oh yeah, we could do it over there, but not in their homeland. Yeah, let's go to war with them over there in the Americas. Consequently, she asked the Sultan of Morocco to provide 100,000 pounds for the joint scheme. Al-Mansur envisioned the occupation of the West Indies in the following letter that he wrote to the Queen. Besides, we must treat of your army and of our army. We shall go to those countries of people in the land. After that, with the help of God, we shall have subdued it. So they're talking about going to here, coming here to America and taking your land, so-called Negro Aboriginal. And they say with the help of God. So they're saying Morocco and England. We shall have subdue it. For our intent is not only to enter upon the land to sack it. It's not just that we're going to sack it and leave it, but we're going to possess it and that it remain under our dominion forever. Our dominion forever. We're going to make sure that these so-called Negroes never know this is their land. We're going to make sure we're not just going to sack it and leave it. We're going to stay here. We're going to possess it forever under our dominion, Morocco and England, by the help of God, he says, to join it to our state and yours. And therefore it shall be needful for us to treat the people in thereof, whether it be your pleasure, it shall be inhabited by our army of yours, or whether we shall take it on our chart to inhabit it with our army without yours. In respect of the great heat of the climate, where those of your country do not find themselves fit to endure the extremity of heat there, and of the cold of your parts, where our men endure it very well, by reason that the heat hurts them not. So that he wants the hot parts. That's what he's saying. The letter continues to emphasize that this will be a joint venture in which the two parties will equally share in the profits of the West Indies. In the profits of the West Indies, tobacco, sugar, cocoa, everything. By dividing it so that every party would know its share. The letter calls the Queen's attention to the benefit of such an alliance by stating, "In your high estate shall know that in the inhabitant of those countries by us and you shall have a great benefit. First, for that those countries of the East are joining to many king Moors and infinite nations of our religion. And further, if your power and command shall be seen there with our army, all the Moors will join and confederate themselves. All the Moors will join by the help of God with us and you, Morocco and England." So it says, coincidentally, both rulers died in 1603, and their alliance regarding the colonization of West Indies did not materialize. All right, now this book goes on to say that, they both died in 1603, right? Well, so it's so funny how, right after this, they colonized America, right? So James the first, right? All right, so King James. But anyways, they say that the alliance regarding, the colonization of West Indies did not materialize, so it didn't happen. But just look at history, and what I've been showing you in all the other videos. We know how to dodge the hijack because we're about to show you something. What is the Great Seal of the United States according to a Moor? We're gonna get into that, right? So we're talking about Confederate, right? What he just said here. We're talking about all the Moors might join and confederate themselves. Confederate, all right. All right, so we're back in this article again. CM-based certificate of more civic relation concepts. Says a major part of this civic booklet focuses on CM-based copyright certificate. All right, so this is his work. All right, it's not mine. This is his work, which is registered in Washington, District of Columbia, Library of Congress, Copyright Office. It has been prepared for Moorish Order of the Round Table, study classes, and those who decide to protect the Moorish nation from unlawful abuses. Now it says, trusting to assist the Moorish nation, this booklet, one of a series, is presented with love and sincere determination for the good. All right. Since truth needs no apology, fear not. The Moors must study and learn to operate in their sovereign capacity. Ergo, Great Seal, working for the justice land for all Moorish Americans. And then you got all your symbols here. All right. All right. So I want to show this. It says the Constitution of the United States is the law of the land, with all the treaties in force. Treaties. These are the instruments of law used to gauge and adjudicate any matters of violation, controversy, or infringement between the Moors and the foreign European Christians. Between the Moors, who are the Moabites, Moroccans, and European Christians, who are the English. The United States has a dual national seal, two sides of one seal. The Great Pyramid on the back of the US dollar bill is the emblem of the Asiatic Moabite Moorish nation. The pyramid with the all-seeing eye, that's the Moabite with the all-seeing eye pyramid. The ancient ones, the master builders of civilization, mothers and fathers of the human family. The key word to distinguish the two seals is of. The seal of the United States of America, the European colonies. That says the other side, says the eagle wings spread with hexalpha, the insignia of the Moorish nation. Dual trine, Solomon's shield, crowning its head. Hexalpha represents the red fez of the Moors, the tiara crown of Tarbush, sovereign authority. The sun never rises or sets in the Roman Empire, simply because they, the Romans, are in jurisdictional and resource possession colonization of the fallen Moorish Empire. The Almorocs, Americas, they say, the land of the Moors. The great Masonic secret is the loss of the Moorish nation's consciousness, heritage, and birthright. This explains the truth behind the duality of the United States Great Seal. Now Rome wears the royal crown in the fez, and it seems because of the Treaty of 1787, all right? It says the Treaty of 1787 is the law of the land, just as the Constitution, and is binding on all the judges of every state. Look at them as one document. As far as law and authority is concerned, it says Moors are not citizens of the United States society, but are the people of the continental United States, being part and parcel of the government to which the Union of States are obligated. The constitutions of the two nations, in conjunction with the treaties, are the working tools for adjudication and jurisdictional arguments, procedures, and venue. Keep in mind the duality of the Great Seal of the United States. All right, I'm telling you again. There's two nations, Moors and the European colonists, he's saying. And look, they're part of the government, part and parcel of the government. I mean, if you could interpret this on your own way, help me out, because this is, I don't know, it just seems like like it just seems like you're part of the corporation, like you're admitting you're part of the created government, the created corporation. Says the Great Pyramid, the Great Seal, and Hexalpha. The Great Pyramid, Great Seal, is the emblem of the Moorish nation. This is the emblem of the Moorish nation, the LCNI, at the top of the pyramid. And then we got the, well, this also looks like the Jewish star, right? Star of David, or Hebrew symbol. But it says the Hexalpha is the insignia of the Moorish nation. All right, the symbol of the eye is Allah. The symbol of the pyramid is self, I am. The first monad manifest in flesh and in balance. The first people of the earth. The Moabite, Moorish nation, the Moabite. So now we're all Moabites. Asiatics and Muslims. The Moabite, Asiatics and Muslims. Where's the Amaru Khan? Amarakapana, the plum serpent. Hexalpha, the dual trine, represents the law of duality, as above, so below, the spiritual and the physical, the mother and son. The mother and son. Hexalpha is sometimes displayed within the Fertile Crescent, mother and nation. All right, so if you haven't watched my thoughts videos, go ahead and go watch part 1 and part 2, because part 3 is going to be really crazy. I'm going to break all this down. All these symbols, they come out of, even from, thought way back from Thoth and all that, Egypt, ancient mystery schools, all that. So, and again, where did the word coming from? Amaraka. Because Thoth in his emerald tablets, right? What he's saying, he's from Atlantis, right? Atlantis, that was over here, right? Moors know that, right? Then the Moabite Moors occupy Atlantis. That was over here. Oh, that was you mean? Oh, wait, that was your ancestor? Is that what you're telling me, Thoth? Where you guys kind of have the same, all right? What does Islam, have to do with Queen Elizabeth? What does it have to do with the Moorish nation, right? What does it have to do with Christianity? All this is going to be, future videos, but, let's just enjoy the journey for now. And, if y'all can put your input on it, I'll love it in the comments, whatever information you have, we can start putting this together, all of us. All right. So now it says, again, we're in there. This is their teaching, so we're learning their perspective, right? So it says Hexalpha, the dual trines, the triunes, also represent the centrifugal and centripetal forces in nature called yin and yang. Yep, you see the two triangles, they put it together. Yeah, we know that most of, yep. All right, we can dig that, right? And then check this out. Self, law, and master. You yourself are the law and master. What's up with Hawa? These are the 5 universal symbols of Islam, the 12 signs of the zodiac, the signs of the Moorish nation of the Order of Islam, North Gate, North America, founders of civilization, the North Gate. Moorish nationals, initiates, and doctors of law in general should be cognizant of the fact that the preamble of the Constitution of the United States of America has 2 entities, United States. The two entities referred to in the preamble are the first, an entity, the United States, symbolized the Great Seal, and the second entity, the United States of America, symbolized by the eagle in flight, phoenix bird, which came out of the ashes fall of the Moorish Empire, the Great Lost Estate. The Great Lost, you mean Atlantis when it fell? The Great Lost Estate? What were you guys doing in Atlantis? What's the stories of Atlantis that they tell us the people were living wrong or something, right? They did something to cause that, right? The Moabite Moorish nation was overthrown by the Franciscan Brotherhood, Moabite. The negative economic and social conditions of the descendants of the Moorish nation, labeled Negro, black colored, is because the Moors are war booty and prisoners of war in their own lands. We can dig that. The so-called copper-colored tribes of America, the Aboriginal, yeah, he is a prisoner of war in his own land. All right, we didn't call it Almorox, though. The Hexalpha displayed in glory over the head of the eagle and the seal of the United States of America indicates their trusteeship, de facto trusteeship over the great Maghreb, Morocco, over the great Morocco, the trusteeship that sealed the deal. All right, the seals, the deal. We see it, they sealed the deal. All right, Al Mansur and Queen Elizabeth were plotting it. I'll set up my plantations. You get the north, you got the tobacco. We'll take all that. We'll do it. All right. Who's to say that and carry on? And you can see that even they're kind of hinting to us right now, right? There's a duo, the de facto trusteeship over the Great Maghreb, Morocco, Far West. Much of the true history and culture of the Moorish nation is preserved and taught in the Masonic lodges and secret societies of North America and the world. All right. We, the people of the United States, are the people of the land, it says. The indigenous sovereign people of the Almorocs of Amaracapana, who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Almorocs, so they're calling here Africa, right? The Americas run from Alaska to Argentina, Patagonia, including the adjoining islands. These are the descendants of the ancient Moabites again. So all the people from Alaska to Argentina are all Moabites. The Moors, they're all Moabites. That's it. That's all you got. That's it. Everybody's a Moabite. The Great Seal is the emblem of the Moorish nation. The Great Seal, the pyramid with the eye. These people from the north to south are all Almorocans. The Americans, north, south, and central. This is the first party entity in the preamble of the Constitution. All right, so that's the first party. But they're all Moabites. All right. The preamble of the Constitution of the United States of America shows that the origin comes from pre-existing nation. This is the secret of nature's law and nature's God, symbolizing the two seals of the one great seal of the United States, the continental United States of the indigenous Moorish nation. Nature's law and nature's God is mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. Now it says here, pay attention, the Great Seal of the United States, Moabites, Moors, federal. That's the federal, the Moabites and the Moors are the federal. And then it says one union with the seal of the United States of America, the corporation of Albion's Europeans, colony states. Isn't that what Al-Mansur and Queen Elizabeth were talking about? That's exactly what they were talking about. One union. All right? The Moabites and the Albion's Europeans, one union. Who was the first colonists, really? Who was these first presidents, these first, all right? Were they really white? Were they Moors? Moabites? Were all of them European Albions? A uniting or connecting of two or more into one. It says a union. This can represent chemicals, principles, or peoples. Peoples uniting into one. Peoples. Who? Moabite Moors with the Albion Europeans. Where's the Amaru Khan? This can represent peoples. An example in simple form is 1 + 1 = 2. In the secret history of the West, the two seals of the United States represent the union between the Moorish Muslims and European Christians into a government based on the ancient and illustrious principles of the five-pointed star. The five-pointed star, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as established in the ancient civilization of Mu, the ancient Moabites' law of peace. These principles are founded in nature's law and nature's God, mentioned in the unanimous Declaration of Independence. Nature's law is sometimes referred to as the wheels in the sky, the great zodiac constellation, universal law of peace. It says here the national flag of the Moabite Moorish nation of North America, North Gate. So that's the North Gate. It says the Old Glory is a red flag with a five-pointed green star in the center. The flag of the Moorish Almorocan Americans, the direct descendants of the ancient Moabites, who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa and a Mexican. The word Al is Moorish land for descendant of or coming down from. All right. And it tells you. It says the green star is the angel, Ishtar, descended to the earth, Ishtar, Astarte, also called Astarte, Venus. Really? You guys got Astarte in your flag? An angel. Fallen one? Or what? Ishtar? Like Easter? Like the Christians celebrate Easter, right? We know that started from Astarte, right? And you guys got that on the flag? Venus. Venus is the most brilliant star in our solar system. Her Elohim identity is Ana'el. Her degree days is Friday. All right, so me just show you this. The crescent and the star is a red flag with a white crescent star in the center. The star is just inside the upper horn of the crescent. The crescent star is the oldest flag in all human history. It is mother to all other flags of the nations. It symbolizes mother and son, like Mary and Jesus. In a singular form, it symbolizes the cosmos. It says the crescent is a symbol of the angel, the angle, right? Angel, messenger, Luna, the moon, Elohim. Identity is Gabriel. All right. Again, if you guys go watch my thought videos, who was Gabriel really? Who was Gabriel really? Gabriel. Why did he appear to Mary? Talking about Jesus was coming. Then he also appeared to Muhammad and made him write down the Quran. It was Gabriel who recited the Quran to Muhammad. Gabriel, the same one that appeared to Mary, this messenger. He's very involved in a lot of things, especially in religion. Gabriel. Go watch my thought videos. So you got Gabriel and Ishtar, Venus. You're representing both that. All right. Okay.
Okay, so we see where we at with this. I just want y'all to understand these things because it's very important to see what is going on. Because we got to understand, we got to stop listening to these folks, man. We got to go ahead and deal with Yahuwah for who he is, obey him. Because you don't have no other help. The other folks are leading you down dark paths. They digging ditches, you falling in them, and they're going to eventually fall in them too. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it at that. The next thing we're going to get into, because now you know where the blue-eyed devil thing and all this crap came from. Now we're going to go into, I'm going to show you what Malcolm X said out of his own mouth about Martin Luther King. Now, I know some of y'all grandmothers got them on the wall, or over the refrigerator, over the stove. But we finna expose all these leaders, and then we're going to go back to our lessons. And I'm hoping that, some of y'all come up here for this controversy, go up there and look at some of these other videos and learn how to save yourself. That's what this is all about. It's not attacking nobody. It's about helping you get an understanding and getting a clear path to the Creator. So with that being said, we're going to close out. Again, I'm not going to say no prayer over this because this is just basic history information. This man has some good information. Dan Calloway, he has some good information as well. Only difference is he don't understand about Israel, but he has some really good information. You need to go start looking at these things again so you can save yourself. So with that being said, hopefully I'll see y'all up here again the next time. Shalom, shalom.